It's 5 a.m. And I have a flight in 5 hours. Both of those things are true, so I need an episode for Friday, which is today. Welcome to Friday. I needed this episode for now, so I'm recording whatever. Will it be funny? God, I hope so. Editor, this one is really on you. Do the best you can. Do I believe in you? Only time will tell. So, this is the best 5 D&D sessions I have ever played, and whether or not you may steal them. But first, a dramatic update. I am shorn. Number 5.
Oh, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz. Yes, that's correct. I once ran a Wizard of Oz session. So there's a story behind this one. My editor knows it because they were a player. Say your piece now. You know what? Don't say your piece now. Say your piece at the end so that you don't spoil the story. So, I was living at home at the time because I had very recently dropped out of college and moved back in with my parents. It's not as sad as it sounds, but it is true. And I had to run a session at 2 p.m. And boy, did I get a phone call from my editor at 2:12 p.m. This phone call woke me up for the day. Not even from a nap. Listen, my sleep schedule's fucked. It's this time right now. Clearly my sleep schedule has remained fucked. Anyway, I wake up to the sound of their voice saying, "Hey, we have a session. Do you remember that?" And I went, "Yes, I am on my way." And I hung up. And then I spent the next 2 minutes going, what the fuck are we doing this session? What the fuck are we doing this session? What the fuck are we doing this session? Oh no! And these things happened in this order. I remembered that this particular campaign was set on Earth in the distant future, and that our party was currently traveling across North America and happened to be in Kansas. And then I happened to be pacing around in my sister's room. She was in California at the time because that's where she lives now. And I saw up on a little shelf the Wizard of Oz playbook? I don't remember. Something Wizard of Oz themed. And I went, Kansas. This'll work. And thus the session was born. They all got tornadoed. I offered them a dex save to get out of the way. The DC was impossibly high. Because I needed them all to go. Sometimes DMs do that. Hey players, for anyone that's only ever been a player, here's your hot tip of the week. DMs lie about DCs, and they lie about rolls, because sometimes they just need you to fail a roll. It's important for the story. Just let it happen. Forgive them. They know what's best. Most of the time. DMs, don't abuse that. Anyway, off they are whisked to Wonderland? No, Oz. What is Wonderland? Alice is in Wonderland. They're not the same. Unless? Anyway, they're whisked off to Oz. They play through roughly the same thing. The trees throw apples at them. They make con saves to get through the field of poppies that puts everyone to sleep. And then they fight everyone. They fight the witch, and they discovered that the wizard is not the Wizard of Oz. And then they realize that the magic was in their hearts all along. And you do some MacGuffin style, there's no place like home to get back to the real world. And then everybody wakes up. And the best part of this session is, at the end, you can give one of your players, or if you get lucky with party composition and are really special, a beloved pet goat, or any pet really, the ruby slippers at the end. Or, in my party's case, horseshoes, but for a goat, ruby horseshoes. And then that can be a magic item that can do truly whatever you want it to. Or you can pull the original and go with the silver slippers, because they were silver in the original. Did you know that? I don't think you knew that. I think you're lying to me. Creamtown thinks you're lying to him. Would you lie to this face? Anyway, that's number 1. And as for whether or not you may steal that, yes. The Wizard of Oz is in the public domain. Fucking go nuts.
Oh, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Here he is, the Wiz of a Wiz, if ever a Wiz there was.
Number 4. The hot dog. Some backstory. 1. This is a space campaign. 2. This is a space campaign where the 3 player characters are, and I quote, the only good people in the universe. Everyone else alive is either evil or neutral. So of course we had to worry about civilian casualties and nobody else did. So, we are evacuating a whole bunch of monks from a space temple, getting them all onto effectively space lifeboats to get the fuck out of Dodge, away from what is, without question, an Imperial Star Destroyer. Yeah, one of those. We do not have one of those. We have a Millennium Falcon, a slightly bigger, that ship from Thor that gets eaten by the Black Helix at the end of Thor Ragnarok, and a hot dog. And here is what happens. We do a whole bunch of ship combat. It's great. This is coming off the heels of the last Star Destroyer we came up against, which, fun fact, I managed to destroy with a level 2 spell and a cantrip. Yes, the entire ship. I'll tell that story if this video gets 15 likes. Anyway, we're evading the starship, doing our best to get everyone out, basically keep the attention on us until everyone can jump away. And boy, does it almost work. And I had to pull a trick that I had pulled once before. The spell Wall of Force is really good. Typically, what happens with Wall of Force is you put up a wall, and it is completely unbreakable unless you do enough damage to the wall, in which case there is not overflow damage. So even if it were to break the wall, it would not do whatever. There's a big old ship-based beam of disintegrate coming at the hot dog, which, as a reminder, is a lifeboat full of civilian casualties. So what I do is, to try and keep things interesting, I never want to solve the same problem in the same way twice. I had done the put a wall of force in space in front of the ship, block it. So instead of that, I did this. I attempted to do that with said Wall of Force, instead of just blocking it, taking the shot, and redirecting it at the thing that shot at us. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the one and only time in my history of playing Dungeons & Dragons that I had a play that was so good that the DM straight up said, this doesn't work because this. No, it does work because this. DM overrule. Literally word for word, I just got flat out overruled by the DM. It was just straight up, no, that doesn't happen. And as much as I respect that at the end of the day, the DM gets the final say about stuff like that, that did make me just a little bit angry because the hot dog was the only civilian casualty. Actually, it was technically the only casualty on the side of good for the entire campaign. The DM was hungry for blood. He was sad. I kept denying him blood. It wasn't just me. The rest of the party also did a fucking phenomenal job for that whole campaign. But, man, I had such a good play, and it got overruled. And if you want to know if you can have that session to use as your own, no. Overruled. Moving on. Number 3.
Linny couldn't have killed Cowl because Cowl killed Cowl. Dude, she's right. What?
The fully improvised murder mystery. This may be my greatest accomplishment as a DM. This was a campaign where we had 4 players, each with, I think, oh no, I'm sorry, at this point we had 3 players, each with about 7 characters. It was roundtable DM, so we would have a different DM, not every session, but pretty much every session. This was my turn, and I had the idea that I wanted to do a murder mystery, and I did not have a reason or a way for this to happen with a whole bunch of new NPCs. So instead, what I did was I picked one of each of my 2 players' characters and said, you get this one. They were out of the house when X magical object feedbacked really hard. Now everyone is acting funny, something is, their personalities have been shifted in some way, and someone is dead. It wasn't actually a murder, but it was meant to be a murder mystery. I get control of all of your characters. As soon as you finish arcing each of their characters, you get them back, basically. And also, none of your magic is working because, happenstantially, every character in this game was level 60, gestalted in Pathfinder. So we were laughing at God's level of powerful. So I had to turn off Identify and Divination and Clairvoyance and Divine Intervention, all the wacky shit that would have just given you the answer. But the reason this was as impressive as it was because it had the full, like, point-and-click adventure style. This interacts with this later on when you find it. Here's the answer, you find the puzzle later. All of that, like, weavy bullshit. And I improv'd 99.8% of it. I went into that session knowing this guy did it, it's a murder mystery. That's it. That is truly the only thing I knew going in. And according to my 2 players, I ran a fully satisfying murder mystery where all of the plot lines and puzzles like lined up and made relative sense. And my favorite bit of that session was one of the characters was like a quote-unquote reformed overlord, and the running joke between him and the good guy that routinely beat him was, "I'm a changed man, sure you are." So, said evil guy was doing the most evil thing I could think of in a mundane household setting. He was unwashing the laundry.
You fucking freak! You're a freak!
He was taking clean, folded laundry, putting it in the dryer, taking it out of the dryer, putting it in the washing machine, taking it out of the washing machine, and putting it in a pile. And everyone yes-anded that bit and went, holy fuck, that's the most evil thing I've ever seen. And you may have that one for free. You may take both that bit and that session type for free. DMs, make a habit of throwing yourself to the wolves as far as improv. It makes the sessions you are prepared for that much better because you can adapt on a dime. Number 2. Nightmare in Mimic Valley. This is my other proudest DM moment. This is my go-to Halloween session. It's technically a one-shot, but it's set up in such a way that it doesn't have to be a one-shot. It can slot into a campaign pretty seamlessly. Basically, the crux of the thing is this. You go to a village. The village is near enough abandoned. Pretty much everyone is gone. The only NPC in town is the barkeep. When you enter the bar, he is immediately hostile, and if you pay attention to how he's fighting, he is specifically trying to get fire in contact with you. With a high enough insight roll, or talking to him after managing to calm him down or subdue him, you can figure out that fire is not just the only weapon he had on hand, but specifically makes whatever is happening in this town freak out. After that, the players split off to follow a scream and or a trail of blood or any other, like, hey, look over here horror trope that you can come up with. And they find a number of houses that are abandoned, some that seem recently. The town isn't 100% abandoned, but everyone is inside. It's a ghost town in the day, and it's fucking dead quiet, lights on at all times at night. Everyone has seemingly figured out that fire is the only thing that helps with whatever's going on. What is going on is that a slightly modified version of mimics are living in the sewers. The crux of it is that this started happening X amount of time ago, just after the new well was installed. The well has opened a cave, connected to a cave where there is a horde of mimics. And there are a couple of ways this can go. You can have the mimics successfully body snatch a person, whether that be an NPC you've already met, a new NPC, or if you have willing players, you can body snatch a player. I have done that, and it's really fun. They eventually figure out that the well is it. They go into the well, they go into the cave. There's a small room full of a couple of mimics that are disguised as furniture, as well as a ton of furniture that's been stolen from the village. And then there is the boss room, which is full to brim with sleeping mimics and one enormous wrecked ship that is basically the boss mimic, the hive mind leader. Kill the boss without waking up the sleeping guys, or do wake up the sleeping guys and fucking run out of the cave as fast as you can as a horde of mimics are chasing you. It's real fun, especially if you can play up the tension until the reveal. It's a good time. And you may have that one for free if you like, but only if you feel like you're brave enough. Finally, the best session I've ever played. This was run by my good buddy Fresh Sandwich, frequent guest of the channel and very, not successful. More successful than me. I didn't mean that. I'm digging myself a weird hole. His channel's cool and you should check it out. Link in the description. Anyway, he ran this session. He also invented the system that it was run in. I'm going to give you a very brief synopsis. It was a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure TTRPG that he created. And so everyone's got their own custom stand that they made themselves. And it does whatever wacky nonsense you want your stand to do. It's a slightly different dice system. I won't get into the weeds, but the important part is there's stands. Stands can do whatever. And so the party, the three of us, the four of us, there was a DMPC, are in a very fancy car. I believe it was a Lamborghini. And we are on the Autobahn in Germany, famously the highway that has no speed limit. We are going very fast because we need to get to North Korea to stop Kim Jong-un from launching a nuclear missile. None of that is important to the session, but it is why we were there. It is also why someone started coming after us. Typical bad guy black SUV. All right, he's gonna try and run us off the road or whatever, just go faster. And so we just go faster. He just goes faster. He's keeping up with us, is the thing. We realize that this is not a thing we're gonna be able to get away from. We're either gonna have to stop and fight or do something about it. Unclear what. And then a couple of things happen. If you are familiar with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you will know a good portion of the stands, which is the power system, are named after real-world songs and or bands. Examples that come to mind: Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Killer Queen, Highway Star, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be classic rock, but it usually is. Irrelevant. Anyway, that sets up for really fucking cinematic moments in a TTRPG, because if you have named your enemy stands well, you can play their song during their fight. So then this happened. The enemy stand was Livin' La Vida Loca. We weren't sure what it does, but we see this guy and his stand jump on the top of their car and then leap onto our car. Keep in mind, as we're doing a good 200 miles per hour. So I, of course, punch out the window, jump up top, get my own stand out, which was called We Didn't Start the Fire. I was like a detective. It was about like gathering information and turning people's abilities into weaknesses. It was cool. Anyway, so it's Livin' La Vida Loca versus We Didn't Start the Fire, and we're battling it out on top of a Lamborghini on the Autobahn going 200 miles per hour. All in the while the song is blaring the whole time. Shit continues to happen. The DMPC is throwing hardened gummy bears at the car chasing us. One of our other stands is laying basically landmines on the road trying to deal with that. I'm fist fighting this guy. Eventually it gets to the point where everyone's pretty beaten and bloody, except for Livin' La Vida Loca, who's just truly seemingly untouched, unscathed, and an absolute bastion of hardened battle prowess. And eventually the car gets fucked up enough that we flip, fully, like, wheels over wheels, going full, like, this. I'm gonna do this motion like 8 more times while struggling to say what I mean. The car flips. I should have just stopped there. We miraculously survive, although gravely injured due to a couple of lucky rolls. And the guy is completely unscathed, landed unscathed, is walking over to come get us, and in a last-ditch effort, the guy who's dropping mines does not use his stand and simply backhands the guy, which kills him outright. It was then revealed to us that the way his stand functioned, which I will remind you is Livin' La Vida Loca, is the more insane and crazy the current situation is, the stronger all of his inherent stats get. So we did the absolute worst thing of like, get up on the car, fight in the car, set off landmines constantly, explode the police, flip the car at 200 miles an hour, and then finally it ends just a regular fucking slap. That's all it is. And that is the best session that I have ever played. And if you would like to have that one to run, you may, but only if you are subscribed to The Fresh Sandwich, as it is his. Tell him I sent you, find one of his videos, watch it, they're all good. I feature pretty regularly over there, so more of his content means more of me over there, and more likes on this video means more of me over here, and more of him over here. It's a little like symbiotic relationship. You know how collaborations work, I don't need to talk down to you. Check out the Patreon. Sandwich is on there too. We have a podcast. We're way behind on scheduled uploads, but we won't be soon. Check out the Discord if you don't want to spend money on me. I swear, I didn't mean to flip you guys off. That was fully because I'm holding with 2 fingers and my nose would. I'm doing it again. I'm sorry. You know what? I was gonna do a thing. Maybe I will do a thing. No, I won't do a thing. I was gonna do another Patreon thing, but now I just feel mean. I'm sorry. Creamtown, are you sorry? What do you have to say, Creamtown?
Follow your stupid fucking dreams.
Well, there you go. I hope this video was funny. I hope you liked it. I hope you get some good and restful sleep tonight, because I will not. Good night, everyone.